Hey guys, Dennis Farrell here with the Wrestling Perspective with myself and Petey Williams. Before we get started with this jam-packed episode, Eddie Edwards and Scott D'Amore in the same episode, I just want to tell everybody thank you who has subscribed to the podcast. If you haven't subscribed, please head over to WrestlingPerspectivePodcast.com. There you can subscribe to any platform that we're on. If you're on iTunes, make sure you subscribe, rate 5 stars, leave a comment. We've recently got a few negative 5-star reviews. I can't help but wonder if that was because of me or James Ellsworth, the Dougcast, which is also on the same feed. 2 great wrestling podcasts on the same feed. You will not find that anywhere else. Also, the Scott D'Amore episode, we were locked in a hot room. There's a little vibration in it. Look, I am an audio snob, so first and foremost, let me apologize. It's going to be a little bit annoying, but the Scott D'Amore episode is phenomenal. He talks about the Impact meeting with WWE. He talks about the Ring of Honor relationship, how they are now. If Petey Williams is a Impact Hall of Famer. A ton of stuff. Make sure you listen. Please, if you like it, reach out to us. Tell us you like it. We are doing our best to be fan-friendly. So much so, we created a hotline. Feel free to call in. The number is 231-930-2053. This episode, we didn't get to any of the voicemails, and we apologize. We were in a room with no internet. It just didn't work out the way we had hoped. 231-930-2053. Leave a question, a comment, be part of the show. Petey and I will definitely make sure we play your voicemails on upcoming episodes when we do them live. Thank you guys so much and enjoy the upcoming podcast. All right, Petey Williams, here we are, this week's Wrestling Perspective podcast. Here in a few minutes, we have Scott D'Amore, a great interview. This is one of these, look, he doesn't talk a lot to many podcasts. He talked to you and me, well, you mainly. We asked him some important questions about the meeting with WWE Impact has. We talked to him about the relationship with Ring of Honor. Yep. And we talked about if you are a Impact Hall of Famer.
Which I don't agree with him, but anyways, I digress.
That's right. And you never know who pops up on this podcast because right now, I'll say this before we introduce him. Every time, and I'm sure you've seen me walk around, every time I'm at a Impact tape and I'm like, Petey, you gotta get Eddie Edwards.
Yes, you do. Dude, you ruined it, man. I was supposed to introduce him and say Eddie Edwards.
Hang on. Every time I'm like, you got to get Eddie. And I'll be sitting in the corner and you'll walk by, you're talking to fans. I'm like, maybe I'll go up and talk to him. Then I'm like, I'm a fanboy. And then I become that guy. And Eddie will go to Petey and I'm like, what's up with your buddy? You know?
Well, yeah, I was going to say, we never say it to you. Be like, Petey, come on, bro. What are you doing? What are you doing to me?
Why is your friend asking me to be on this podcast? This is a safe place. But finally, you conned him into coming on this podcast. You tricked him.
Yeah, so first, I got to introduce our guest.
You introduce him.
And this is how I conned him into the podcast. Right now, we're having pretty much a beer party, pretty much.
An after-show beer.
Yeah, I'm drinking a beer called Voodoo Ranger. We're not sponsored by them, but it's an Imperial IPA.
Thanks, Voodoo.
Eddie says, hey, you got an extra beer? I said, absolutely. Oh, yeah. I'm like, hey, come over here. Come over here. Here, put it on this headset. I'm like, here, we're going to do a podcast.
And the look of disappointment in Eddie Edwards' eyes of like, crap.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden I was like, oh, that's why those mics are all there. That's why they're standing over there. It all just came crashing down.
Eddie Edwards must have walked by me 20 times probably going, who's the nerd in the blue shirt by all these mics? And why is he just sitting there?
Like, he's just sitting there. Nobody's there, but he's just sitting there. But
that's right. I've been practicing this interview in my head for months now.
And this is not how it's going. But Eddie, this is our guest. No surprise now. But surprise! Eddie Edwards. Eddie, how's it going, man?
It's going good. Up here at BCW show, hanging out, drinking some Voodoo Ranger, soon to be sponsored by.
That's how I condiment. Now I'll ask the first question.
Really, you have one finally?
Yep.
Okay.
So Okay, I got to go back to, because I was there with the bad incident. I'm just going to throw that out there right now. So I look at you, former Impact champion. We wrestled each other before Ring of Honor and all that kind of stuff. You've been all over the world, NOAH champion, all that kind of stuff. As soon as that bad incident happened, it seems like, and I remember being in the booking meetings, I'm like, Eddie Edwards is like our next top babyface. I'm like, he's got the edge and stuff. So, talk to me about that bad incident and kind of like the change of your character.
Yeah, so obviously everybody's seen the footage and all that stuff, getting hit in the eye and going through all that and, start basically going from the lowest of lows where as soon as the bad happens, am I losing my eye? Am my vision going to be gone? All that stuff, what long-term damage is going to happen. But as I'm worrying about that and going to the hospital and handling all that stuff, like, little do we know that in the wrestling world, slowly that got the ball rolling there. That absolutely got the ball. Mm-hmm. It started rolling, and we would have been foolish to not take that chance to create something out of this. It was widely talked about. TMZ, all these media places have picked it up and everything. So we had this chance to turn basically completely 180 my character. I wasn't so much a character before. I was very much in real life, the underdog, baby face, good guy, rah type guy. But this gave me the chance to, we need to switch things up. I'm not going to be this good old boy type thing, after I've been bashed in the face by a bat by Sammy Callahan. So it gave me the chance to reach that edge and kind of try something I've never tried before in wrestling. Like, I've done heel places and all that stuff, sure, but this is just a complete character swing. So, I was, after I knew there was no long-term damage and all that stuff, like, it turned into be one of the best things that happened in my career,
So, now, I'll tell you, we'll do Inside Baseball. I was in the booking meeting. So, that incident happened. That storyline wasn't going to go any further. Like, it was kind of going to be whatever. And Tommy was supposed to be in the storyline with Killer Cross and stuff. I wasn't supposed to be around there. And then all of a sudden they were like, dude, I remember them saying that we have something with Eddie. We could do this, that, and the other thing. And Tommy, and we saw it all play out at Slamversary and stuff like that. And then with Tommy, like, how does it feel now? It's almost like a passing of the torch. Like, he was kind of, they actually
passed the torch.
Yeah, they switched their entire booking based on you and being like, you know what, we have to pass the torch from Tommy to Eddie. So how do you feel about that? I mean, Tommy Dreamer passing the torch.
It's Tommy Dreamer. We're talking about being fanboys. Like, I'm an ECW fan, a fan
he
of Tom.
He gave me his phone number today. So I know.
Wait,
I hope he's ready for that.
He doesn't even. Oh, no. Man. Okay, no, we're interviewing Eddie right now.
My phone number is saved into his phone too.
And I'm not. Okay,
and you're not.
This is another podcast story. But anyways, Eddie, Tommy.
The thing about Tommy is a guy who, no doubt, who loves wrestling. He's always talking about wrestling. And he always has wrestling's best interest. You know what I mean? So even when he was backstage and everything, he's always been a guy who's taken me aside and gave me his true advice, whether something sucked or something was good, or change this up, change that up, and being able to do the whole storyline. And when he came in and at Redemption, we did the 6-man match. And that was a match where I got to, where I finally got the cane to Sammy.
That was an awesome match.
And I remember when the crowd, here I am, this good guy, beating a man who's tied up to the ropes, beating a man with a kendo stick in the head, and the crowd's chanting my name. And I remember, feeling, that was one of those times where you felt it out there. And then that happens, we get to the back, and Tommy's like, that was something. That was something. But he's like, we have something. This is something that you need to understand and run with. And then from there, me and Tommy got to. It was cool because, like I said, he's helped me in the past and continues to today. That working together, it was almost like the stuff we were putting on screen where he's my mentor was the stuff that was happening off the screen too. So what I mean, it was like we're bringing it to the wrestling audience. And we basically told the true story, how he's helping me out and stuff. And then we got to do our match, and we got to the point Slammiversary. He hands over that cane to me, and
I was there. I saw it.
Believe me, as an ECW fan, as a wrestling fan, like having Tommy hand me, not only having a hardcore one-on-one match with him, which was awesome, like him handing me the cane. And I remember telling my little brother who's a wrestling fan, we watched together, I got to, I wrestled Tommy Dreamer in a hardcore match, and he gives me the cane, and it's something that's definitely like a bucket list type thing, and we get to continue on and have like a tag match we had tonight. Then we get to play off it. It's just, it's a lot of fun doing stuff with Tommy.
How much input did you have in the evolution of the storyline / character? I mean, your character took a 180. And the story is amazing. You've been the cornerstone of the rebirth of Impact, whether you get a lot of credit or not. How much input did you have in that?
The good thing is with the office and everything, there's a lot of freedom here in general, and I feel that they gave me a big opportunity. It was a collective thing where everybody has input, but then when I go out into the ring, I get to decide. Well, am I going to do this? Is this going to be something that I would now do? And it's kind of just throwing stuff against the wall and see what sticks type thing. So they've given me a lot of freedom, and I've said it since the beginning, since I've been able to do this kind of rebirth type thing, it's been one of the most fun times of my career, because I get to just experience and think outside the box and do things like I said I've never done in wrestling.
Now, Pete, I want to jump in.
Yep.
And outside of the storyline, and we talk a lot of outside storyline stuff on this podcast, you and I are both Boston guys.
Mm-hmm.
Not only have you become friends with a New England Patriots player, but you're now involved in a storyline with them. How cool is that? Because we both are Patriot nerds.
No, yes.
And,
yes.
and to be...
Yes.
Do you really want to beat him up at Bound for Glory? I mean,
But how awesome is it? Because I would geek out. When I did ESPN Radio, anytime I had a former Patriots player on, I turned into a 12-year-old boy. Now, you and Moose are about the same age, but he was next level. Pro athlete on our favorite team.
Yeah.
And now you're involved and friends with a guy like this. How hard is it now? Because fandom.
Well,
we're
the good thing about wrestling, some of the best, the funnest parts is beating your friend up. That's the good thing. You know what I mean? Side note, I am Twitter friends with Julian Edelman, and we did message before on there.
Did you?
Oh, just quiet. I was sliding in those DMs. It was funny. I was talking to my dad the other night, and Bound for Glory happens to be on his birthday. He's like, "Oh yeah, you're wrestling Moose," and I was like, "He was in the NFL, right?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "He was a former Patriot." I was like, "What? Really?" That's goes like, "Yeah, man, of course." First thing I asked, "How's Tom Brady?" He said, "Tom Brady's the man." I was like, "We're just like, yeah, that's awesome." It's still.
Did you have that moment like when you first were introduced to Moose, where you're like, "So, Moose, come on,
that was the first thing. First thing that came to my mind. Like, all right, Moose, whatever. It's good you're here. I don't care. But how is Tom Brady? What does he look like naked? Give us the civic
That'd be my first question as well. Yeah.
Does it really glow? Just all these questions.
As soon as we're done, you gotta tell me how it looks, right? No, but how many Moose autographs do you have? You have to have at least one hanging on your wall, right?
I made fun. I make him sign something and pretend like I'm gonna rip it up, and then I don't, and just save it.
Or
just
do it for
case.
A friend.
Yeah.
Hey, can you sign this for my buddy Eddie?
Freddie, and then I just scribble it out. It's
right.
fine. It works out.
So yeah, because you're living the dream. You're a pro wrestler, wrestling somebody from your favorite team. I like I told Petey, every time we leave an arena, I give him a bucket list of interviews I want to do, and you're always number one on my list.
Thank you.
Because we're hometownies.
That's
I'm
right.
Brockton, Mass.
Boogie down Brockton.
It only took one beer, man. One beer to get him in there.
And now he's going to say hi to me out of obligation, right?
Yeah.
Now he feels obligated. Like, I did his podcast, now I got to do that weird wrestler handshake. When did you realize you want to be a wrestler?
I did the usual thing where I was a fan of it as I was a kid with Hogan and Warrior and all those guys, Savage, all those guys. And then, I kind of fell out of it as I started growing up a little bit older, got into basketball and baseball and football, all these things, all the Boston sports. And then my younger brother, he got me back into it. And as soon as he got me back into it during the Attitude Era, it was like something clicked. Like, well, I need to do this. It wasn't like one thing or one moment, one wrestler. It was just like this whole spectacle. I need to do this. And then I researched schools and found Killer Kowalski's in Malden, Mass. And the rest is history.
Killer Kowalski guy?
Yeah.
So did you train with Frankie? Or?
He was a little bit before me. I was Silk Wagner Brown and was there at the time. Okay. And I saw Frankie a couple times, but he was in Cali at the time I went there.
Wow.
Yeah. And I was lucky to get Kowalski. It was towards the end of his run, his teaching and stuff. He ended up moving to school, but he was still there. Every time I went in, he was the first one there. He'd always be the last guy to leave, and if something looked awful, he'd yell out, "That's horse crap." And
so Killer Kowalski guys, are you close with Frankie? Have you ever worked him? All that kind of stuff?
When we first came into, me and Davey first came to TNA, we did a lot of stuff with him and Chris.
Dave,
and Davey, and then against him and Chris.
He's not England. A Killer Kowalski guy, is he?
No. We did a lot of stuff, and that's kind of when another guy is Kowalski guy, it's kind of like, you have this brotherhood type thing, much like wrestling, but there's also that other
I know
stuff
I'm
outside.
a D'Amore guy,
exactly.
so I hang out with all the D'Amore
exactly.
guys.
So, it's always good to always catch up and, shoot the crap about all that stuff. It's a cool connection to have with other guys.
I find it interesting, wrestlers sometimes, some of them have outside interests, some of them don't. Do you have hobbies? Anything you do outside of wrestling decompress? Because sometimes, Petey, you can contest, if you're 24 hours, 7 days a week wrestling, you need something to step away, take your mind off, and decompress. What does Eddie Edwards do?
Yeah, I especially now with, my wife working for Impact now, so we're traveling together and, working together a lot, and that's how I met her with wrestling. Even though we have our history in wrestling together and currently working together, when we go home, that's our home time. It's there's not a lot of of course we talk wrestling here and there, but it's
you guys
not
do talk wrestling
occasionally.
Okay. Do you guys watch anything wrestling?
Not
really?
usually. Like if something's on, but you know what I mean. It's we like to have that separation, like you said. We can't. Well, I'll drive myself crazy if I watch it too much. If you fully engulf on it. But we like just regular couples things, and we want to try to take time, go to the movies, and just kind of in the summer go on some vacations and hang out. It's much more. I like to try to hang out with my friends and my family now because when you first start in wrestling for so long, you have to sacrifice a lot of that stuff, and I've missed so many things through the years. Yeah. So it's nice to be able to. Okay, I'm not going to take any bookings. I'm going to go away with our family. We're going to have I'm trying to concentrate more on that, and with the holidays coming up, I'm a big Christmas fan, so I love that time of year.
I would
and that
never
stuff
have
coming
guessed.
up. Yeah, bro, you have no
fan.
idea, man. It's October, it's Christmas time. That's what I'm saying.
Are you like a Hallmark Christmas movie guy?
I will watch them too. I do. I will DVR those. I swear to God.
Lampoon's Christmas Vacation,
that's my favorite. That's my favorite.
Yes.
That's my favorite. Yep.
You got to come out and Impact one Impact match dressed as Uncle.
Chevy Chase.
Yeah. No. What was it, Uncle?
No, Cousin Eddie. I'll be Cousin Eddie.
How do you not come out?
And your name is Eddie. Jeez, come on, man.
You're gonna have that old ski hat with the ear flaps. Yep, I know. I get the robe. That's fine.
Now, the evolution of you personally, you come in, you have goals. PD always says his first goal was just to wrestle one match.
Yeah.
From where you started to where you are now, how have your goals evolved? And this isn't like, do you want to wrestle in WWE?
Yeah.
Let's be honest. Everybody would do it in a heartbeat if they offered it. But you personally, what goals do you set every year, and how do you reach them?
Yeah, it's much like Petey's just wanted to have a match. That's kind of how I've gone about my whole career. Ring of Honor before. Okay, first I want to get a job with Ring of Honor, and then I want to win the tag belts, and I want to win the TV. And it was kind of like step by step by step, and I managed to do that. Basically, accomplished those goals. Came to Impact, and then it was the same thing. I want to win the tag titles, the X Division title,
world champion.
Yeah, the X Division title, and then eventually the world title. So it's that's how I've kind of set my career goal by goal by goal. And now at this point, with the new character that I'm going, I kind of want to just play with this character and see how creative and how far we can kind of take this character, these angles and stuff. And now being here at Impact for a few years, I want to be one of those guys that helps put Impact on our shoulders and move forward. That's all of our goal. We want to make everything here at Impact the best we can. So I want to be one of those guys at the forefront who will go do the interviews, go do the meet. I want to be that go-to guy as well. So it's a different set of goals, but it's still goals that you have to set. If you got something to chase, you're not going to stop running.
Now, does every media interview you do they have to offer you a beer too, or is it just us?
It's either pre or post beer. Either way, it belongs with beer.
I figured Ross Foreman had something. But anyways, hey Eddie, thank you so much for joining us here for this beer and this podcast. Where can people find you, on social media and stuff? I'm
just on the Twitter machine at the Eddie Edwards, Instagram and Facebook fakes. So I've dealt with that a couple times where there's nude pictures being sent that weren't actually me.
Oh man, were they?
If it looked flattering, I would have been like, yeah, sure, that's me. All right, but no, it was not.
One more question. In wrestling, some wrestlers have problems putting people over. Would you do the job for Tom Brady?
Oh my God!
Yeah.
Stop! Are you kidding me? Yeah,
kick out of this
I'd end my career for Tom Brady.
Who wouldn't, right? I had to ask it. Now it's in the interview, Pete.
All right, Eddie, thank you so much
Thank you,
for
guys.
coming on here, man.
Thank you.
All right, Pete. Wow, Eddie Edwards, surprise pop-up on the podcast.
Was not expecting that, Dennis.
We have Scott D'Amore in just a few seconds.
Yep.
Before we go into Scott D'Amore, let's talk a little bit about Blue Chew.
When I think Blue Chew, I don't think Scott D'Amore, but
no, you know what?
I think Eddie Edwards more likely.
Here's the thing. I got up for the occasion for Eddie Edwards. Eddie Edwards is like my interview version of Blue Chew. And if you guys want your own Blue Chew, and by the way, we're doing this ad, no notes, no nothing. Go over to BlueChew.com, use the promo code Ellsworth, pay $5 for shipping and handling, and you too, in your own bedroom, can do your own version of interviewing Eddie Edwards.
When I think Blue Chew, I think, what does Eddie Edwards hold?
Yeah,
A kendo stick.
That's right.
Look at that thing.
And that kendo stick is stiff.
Stiff like something that
Like-
you might pop in your mouth, like a Blue Chew?
Like a Blue Chew, and that kendo stick can slap it all night long.
You hear the slap of that kendo stick on a
That's
back, on any part of the body.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a big slap right there.
One would say that kendo stick is a match ender. And you too, with Blue Chew, can ender matches cleanly.
When you hear that kendo stick, that means take it home, boys.
You know what I wanted to do on this podcast was have you give me a chop.
Oh man, did you take your Blue Chew? Because you're gonna need that to
I'm gonna-
recover
yeah,
from this chop.
That's right. And without Blue Chew, by the way, the main event match is almost over. We'll have a bunch of people in here yelling. Go to BlueChew.com. Promo code Ellsworth, $5. Look, let's just say you were like David Ortiz. Whether he did it or not with the steroids, no one will ever
PEDs,
know.
yeah.
Yeah, no one will ever know. But we know he had Blue Chew because he went deep a lot.
Do you want to like unbutton and I give you this chop?
Yes.
Go ahead, unbutton.
All right, here we go. Now, are you gonna lay in? Are you gonna lay into me and really try to hurt me?
Okay, you're unbuttoning right now, I guess.
am unbuttoning.
All right, okay.
All right, listen.
Third button down. All right.
Take it easy.
Okay.
Don't.
I'm. Put your Blue Chew in right now. Give me one of those Blue Chews.
Wait, I need it, not you.
No, I need it for this chop.
Whoa, wait a second. I'm with your arm. I want you to chop me with your arm. With Blue Chew, you could definitely chop the hell out of somebody. All right.
All right, you got it down. Okay, lift up. Ooh, man, I didn't know you were that jacked.
Hey,
All right.
Blue Chew.
All right, are you ready for it? Hold on, just let me
Please.
lick my hand here.
Please don't hurt me.
All right, are you ready?
I'm
don't.
ready. I'm scared.
All right. Well, okay, now don't flinch on this one, all right?
Okay.
All right, ready? And 1, 2, 3.
Oh.
Dude. But you feel fine because you took the Blue Chew.
BlueChew.com. Oh, how do you guys do this? BlueChew.com, promo code. Let's go. Can we just go to Scott D'Amore?
Yeah, let's go to Scott.
All right, Petey Williams, here we are, Border City Wrestling 25th anniversary show. And who better to finish the night of interviews with than the man, the myth, the legend? No? Wait.
Do you see the smile on my
I
face?
do.
This is almost like kind of interviewing my own dad. This is my father of wrestling.
And your dad wouldn't even come on the podcast.
No, probably because he's dead. Let's not go there.
Okay.
But bad taste. But yeah, this is my trainer, my mentor, the guy I look up to as a father, even though he's only like a few years older than me. Scott D'Amore. Scott, Daddy, how you doing?
Hey guys. Wow. First and foremost, thank you for letting me be a part of the 25th anniversary Border City show. This has been amazing, and even though I'm like a fringe hanger-on kind of guy, you've welcomed me in and you've made available talent, and I feel like I'm part of the family. So thank you.
Well, hey, the fact is, Petey vouched for you, so anybody that's good in Petey's books is good in our books. It's kind of like a certain other organization there is. Somebody vouches for somebody else, then they're good. And Petey said, hey, it's a friend of mine. So
Yeah.
so if you ever screw up, I'll put a bullet in Petey's skull.
Sweet.
Oh man. So, Scott, all right, let's get on to this. Now, you are vice president of Impact Wrestling. We're all back together. You know, we got Sanjay, you, yourself. What do you see for? We're on the upswing right now. Mm-hmm. You know, just a quick brief, like, what do you see for the future of Impact?
You know, I think we're on a good path. You know, if you look at where we were just a few months ago, really at the beginning of the year, I think coming out of 2017, there's a lot of uncertainty. And I think that through these 9-10 months, we've really at least shown people that, like we talked about in the beginning, myself and Don and Ed, excuse me, we talked about how we needed to go out there, we needed to tell people what we were going to do, and then we needed to deliver. Because this company has had great highs in its history, but has also had some problematic times. And one of the things has been consistency, and there's been times where with this company, with Impact, and you know, before it really TNA, where it promised stuff and then maybe it didn't quite deliver. So it was important to us that we say what we're going to do, and then we go out there and do it. And we knew it wasn't going to be like we deliver once, we deliver twice, and we're like, okay, great, like everything's okay. We have to week in and week out, we have to show people that we're going to go out there, we're going to consistently deliver. People invest time into a wrestling company, into a wrestling promotion when they follow it. They invest time when they watch the product on TV, when they watch it online, when they follow it on social media, and then hopefully they invest money when they buy tickets, they buy merchandise, they support the product that way. So I think people are starting to understand that if they invest time in us, we're going to give them a hell of a show. If we say we're going to do something, we're going to do it. And all that uncertainty of if the show is going to happen is gone. And now people know the show is going to happen. And then the second phase is they know the show isn't just going to happen, but they know the show, or at least are starting to believe the show is going to deliver. And I think we've done that with the television show week in, week out. I'm not going to say we have a perfect show, but every week our guys go out there and really just go out there and just lay it all on the line. The guys in front of the camera and the girls in front of the camera, and then everybody backstage as well. And then certainly if you look at Redemption and if you look at Slammiversary, I think our pay-per-views have really went out there and delivered. And I think that as we are here on the eve of 2019, we're out there, people are buying tickets to come see Impact events, they're watching the television show, they're following on social media, and they're buying pay-per-views. So we've got a long road that we have to travel to get back to where this company was. But I think a lot of the right moves have been made. There was so much influx of talent and people behind the scenes exiting and coming in the first half of the year. Now I think we've really kind of built a good team. Now certainly there's always going to be, it's a cyclical thing and there's going to be changes, but I think we really have a great base. And that was our goal for 2018 is I think as we sit here, not even at the end of the year, I think we're maybe a little bit ahead of schedule from where we wanted to be, which is a great thing. So now we get to focus on, now that it's stable, now we got to focus on building.
What's next? Because you guys were the innovators of having a TV show and allowing other talent to go work on other TV shows, and you've seen other companies kind of fall into line with what you guys have been doing. You now are ahead of the curve. Sometimes in different areas you are setting industry standards, which it's something you don't really hear from Impact, but now you guys are ahead of the curve and doing innovative things. Are you guys looking at what's next to change the industry yet again?
I mean, I think we always have to be looking at what we can do differently and what we can do better, because if you don't evolve, then you die. And I think that we're sitting there and, like you talked about, being collaborative with lots of groups. I mean, whether it's AAA, whether it's Lucha Underground, whether it's House of Hardcore, whether it's Border City Wrestling or Destiny or Defy or any of the other groups out there. I think that in this day and age, in a social media and digital world, people no longer follow one product. There's certainly a lot of people that they watch WWE and that's what they watch. But then there's a lot of wrestling fans out there, that watch WWE, watch some Impact, watch some Ring of Honor, watch some New Japan, watch some Lucha Libre, that certainly, and we saw with the All-In event, both as a live event and as a broadcast event, everybody coming together, it really is something exciting for wrestling fans, because for so long, everybody played in their own sandbox. Mm-hmm. And I think it's great that groups are out there and collaborating. Like look, we had talent, sorry guys, we had talent on the All-In broadcast, and we thought it was great, that Cody and the Bucks and everybody reached out and said, hey, we want to have Impact represented. So I mean, Moose was there, Cage was there, Tessa was there, and then when we reached out to Ring of Honor to say, hey, we're doing our 25th anniversary, we'd really love to have Chris Sabin there. He's such a big part of things. I mean, I'll be honest, we kind of, like, I did it. I'm the one who reached out, and I kind of thought, like, hey, we have to do it. So it's one of those things you don't want to say, what if? Fully expecting them to say no. And Ring of Honor is like, you know what? Absolutely. We're happy to let Chris Sabin appear. So, that's a great thing for these fans here to see a guy like Chris Sabin and guys like Petey and everything else come back here and so many years later. I think that's a cool aspect of wrestling in this day and age. And to me, it's just something special that, and we're grateful to Ring of Honor for letting him come here. And just like, to Impact has worked, obviously. I wear 2 hats, a BCW hat and an Impact hat. So, I'm difficult with myself sometimes. I yell at myself a lot. But ultimately, me usually are going to work out something.
So, Scott, Dennis asks me all the time. I already asked Sabin this on my podcast. You brought up, All In and with Ring of Honor and Impact and stuff like that. I always give my answer to Dennis what I think, but I'm not privy to all these other conversations or whatever. So, where would you say the state of, and we know there's been a bad relationship in the past, where would you say the state of Impact and Ring of Honor's relationship is now?
I would say that it's cordial. I can say that Joe Koff and Greg and Hunter and everybody there, there's been no time that we've reached out that they haven't been responsive. We've certainly been responsive to anything for them. So, we're not working together. Like I said, they were a big part of the broadcast with All In, and it was on Honor Club. And we certainly wanted to be a part of that, and we're happy to be a part of that. And I think it was great that, them sending us here. So I would say, look, we're not partners, we're not working together, but we're not enemies, which I think is a big step because, like you said, there was so much bad blood. And it was justified. You were here for some of the things. Over the years, TNA did some really not nice things to Ring of Honor. So when you're in Ring of Honor's position now and doing tremendous business, then why would you ever want to in any way, shape, or form acknowledge or even talk to, Impact Wrestling? But I think it's great. From when we first talked about, the new structure we're going to have here with myself, Don and Ed, and Sanjay and Jimmy and yourself and everything. We've always been, in communication with Ring of Honor because there's no reason where just because you're competitors doesn't mean you wish ill on each other. So there's no reason why to ever have, bad communication. Good communication is important even among competitors. And I think we're at a nice, stable place. You look at it, you look at the All In broadcast, you look at Chris Sabin being here, and you look as we get ready for the Jericho Cruise. We're doing Ring of Honor versus Impact, which is super cool. And it's a nice way for us to do it. It's not being broadcast. It's just for the people on the ship. It's a cool event for Chris Jericho and his cruise. And our talent's really excited. And the Ring of Honor talent is really excited because there's so many fresh matchups there. So where will it go? I don't know. But I think it's great that we're at a point where I know if we reach out to Joe Koff or Greg or Hunter or anybody else, they're going to be responsive. They may not want to do something that we talk about, but there's a communication, which I think is a great start for any relationship. And reestablishing some respect between all the parties, I think, is a huge, huge step.
Pete, I got 2 more questions. Let me ask my first one, and then you can ask one, and we'll wrap it up with
go ahead.
All right. And you may not want to answer this, and we can delete this off because it's recorded. But, the biggest question Petey and I get is, what was the meeting about between Impact and WWE that was reported a few weeks ago? And I feel like it'd be a disservice if I didn't at least ask. I understand you can't tell us everything, but could you maybe fill in people? Because this has been one of the best kept secrets in wrestling right now.
I don't think it was that good a secret when it's been reported all over the internet.
I'm looking at the wrong places. You mean Pornhub didn't pick it up?
It kind of take everything I said about Ring of Honor and change Ring of Honor to WWE. Since the beginning of the year, we've done 3 content deals with WWE. We did the Hardys documentary deal to supply footage for them for the Hardys documentary. We did a deal to provide footage of AJ Styles and Kurt Angle for Table for 3, and we provided some footage for Bruce Pritchard's podcast on the network. So we've done a few deals together, and I think that WWE is seeing this is a different day with Impact Wrestling, and I think maybe on just the most minute of levels, maybe they're seeing it's a different day and age in wrestling. There wasn't it's one of those things there was a meeting, we got together, we talked, and it was kind of hey, it's kind of nice to be face to face and say hello and just say that, it's 2018, it's a whole different world, and there's no reason why people shouldn't communicate. So there's really no agenda to it. It was nice, and we move on. But it's how the business is now, which I think is tremendous. The fact that we can do a deal with WWE that helps them tell a great story on the network, whether it's one of the shows, whether it's the Hardy documentary. It's certainly good for us to not just make a little bit of scratch for providing the footage, but also, to me, more so than that, is the promotion they give us for the GWN and that. Having it on their network and on their platform and saying, hey, if you want to see more of this, download and watch the GWN. That's great for us. And that's something that wouldn't happen even 2 years ago. No. So whether it's WWE, whether it's Ring of Honor, no matter who it is, I just think that it's great in this day and age. Finally, we've stopped with that old school wrestling BS of, well, if you're with him, you can't do nothing with us. Yeah. So to get past that and do it, that's how business works. In my other life, here in Windsor as a property developer and that, I have people that I have competing developments against, but that doesn't mean we don't talk. We talk about things, we compare notes, and everybody benefits if there's communication and a little bit of respect. And I think it's great that everybody in the wrestling business is in seeing that, and I think we're very proud of the part we've played in help trying to push that agenda. So it's pretty cool, and it's pretty cool to be here for 25 years of BCW, and it's pretty cool to be here with Petey, who I remember him coming to the school as I monopolized a little time here, and be like, God, this guy is so small.
Yeah,
and
so small. And I remember thinking, as I talked to him and he wanted to join, and he just kind of said, look, I'm going to law and security. At the college, St. Clair College. Yep. And I just like to have some matches, do this so I can say I did it and hopefully get on a show at the Chicharo Club, which is where we ran our big shows at the time. And he was a waiter at the time. He was a terrible waiter. I knew he was. And and thank God he made it in wrestling. And now there's times in my brain, and I don't know if you've seen this in your life, where I'm like, I have to stop myself sometimes with Petey and with Sanjay and with Sabin and with Alex Shelley and so many guys. And it's like in my brain, I have to remember, these are full-grown adult men with families, and I'm proud of each and every one of them. I'm honored to have been part of their journeys, but it's I got to stop myself, because in my brain it'll be like, hey, how old was Petey Williams? Well, he was 20, and that was a long time ago, so he's probably 26, and then, he's not 26, so I don't realize the passage of time, but I just wanted to take this for him. I've said it to him privately. I just want to say I'm proud of him, and when we started doing stuff with Impact, one of the first things, we weren't even running it, we were just trying to help out, and it was like me and Sanjay said, let's get Petey back in the mix, because he's a great wrestler, he's a great mind, he's just a guy that brings positive energy, as you've seen, and we're excited to have him back. So
all right,
that's my put over for Petey.
I got to cut in front of you now because he set up my question perfectly.
Okay.
On the way here, I asked Petey a question, and I asked him an honest answer about it. And since you're here, I want to ask you, do you honestly believe, is Petey Williams a Impact Hall of Famer? I mean, and Petey doesn't think so.
Do you want to know my answer first, or do you want to...
But this is a sincere question because the Hall of Fame's coming up, and Petey's pushing 40, Nobody, Father Time is undefeated when it comes to wrestling. Yeah. He's kind of getting up there, and is he a Hall of Famer?
I'm gonna say Petey's gonna say no.
Right.
I'm gonna say when you go through history, certainly there's some guys who there'll be some big political hurdles to get over with. Obviously AJ is the guy of guys that should be in there. Obviously, Samoa Joe is somebody that, when you look at a body of work, certainly needs to be considered. Christopher Daniels is somebody that certainly needs to be considered. But if you look at it, I think that if Petey, I think, needs to go in for a couple of reasons. One, he was such a stabilizing force in an X division that had so many guys who were flip, flop, and fly. And I don't mean that as a knock. I mean that as a compliment. Right. He had so many amazing athletes. Petey could work with anybody. We had a lot of guys that couldn't work with each other because, and it comes from Lucha Libre, you need a flyer and you need a base. And, Christopher Daniels could do both. So few could. Petey can do some flying. He's his era's Lance Storm. Like, you watch a match with Petey Williams and something, you're like, oh my God, they did so much amazing stuff. And unless you really dissect it as a wrestler, you don't realize it. But Petey, just like Lance, is never the guy that did the stuff. He's all the guy that made it look great. So I think that role was very important. And I think that's why he's worthy of consideration. And the second one is, and I don't say this because of me, and it sounds very self-serving, but at a time when there was a really struggling to be heels in TNA wrestling, Team Canada was just a no-brainer. And it wasn't my idea. I got forced into doing it. But there was something really special. And the idea, I think Bobby Roode is a Hall of Famer. I think Eric Young may be a Hall of Famer. I think Petey certainly needs to be considered as a Hall of Famer. But much like they did with the Four Horsemen, and they can do it without me in the group. But there is no way that group of people don't belong in there, maybe individually, and also for consideration as a group, because the X Division struggled for heels and Team Canada were heels. And the whole company struggled to have people to get booed, and damn it, did we get booed. Whether it was against America's Most Wanted, whether it was against, Hoyt and whoever it was. Two groups that always got heat was Team Canada and Kid Cash. And I love Kid Cash, actually, but I mean, I think we were a lot easier to work with.
Send it home, man.
Scott, thank you so much for I mean, you answered a lot of our questions that Dennis asks me all the time, and I'm like, I'm not the guy. I can give you my thoughts and opinions on it. So this is good that we were able to talk about this, and thank you so much for
See you next
being
week
on the show. Yeah, and but where can people find you on social media and stuff like that?
You know what? On Twitter at Scott D'Amore. I'm not the most active tweeter because I'm not good at it. I like a lot of stuff in that. I kind of keep stuff to myself because I think that I think people want to hear from the athletes in our industry. So, but I'm always on there. I read everything that comes through, even some of the people that send the same thing over and over and over and over and over again.
Sorry about that, by the way.
But check me out on there, and you can.
What's your handle on there?
At Scott D'Amore.
Okay.
At Scott D'Amore. So and that's about it. So or just inundate Petey with messages, and he'll get them to me.
And he will.